What happened in Enid, Oklahoma last night should be a wake-up call for every single person living across the central United States right now. A violent tornado tore through that city, leveled homes in the Gray Ridge neighborhood, forced Vance Air Force Base to shut down, and that was just Thursday. Now we are staring down a 4 to 5 day severe weather stretch that forecasters are already calling one of the most active of the year. Today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Storm after storm. All hazards on the table, and if you're anywhere from Texas through Nebraska, the Great Lakes, into the Mississippi Valley, you need to be locked in. Let's get right into the forecast. Before we go day by day, let me give you a proper update on Enid. That tornado touched down just before 8:30 Thursday evening on April 23rd. It tracked directly toward Vance Air Force Base, triggered a tornado emergency, the highest alert the National Weather Service issues, and stayed on the ground for roughly 40 minutes. The Gray Ridge neighborhood on the south side of the city took a catastrophic hit. Homes were completely flattened, people were trapped, and emergency crews went door to door searching for victims. At least 10 to 15 people were injured. As of now, no confirmed fatalities, and given the video circulating of that wedge bearing down on those neighborhoods, that's remarkable. Vance Air Force Base is closed until further notice while crews restore power and water. The Red Cross deployed overnight. And if you're near Enid, road closures remain in effect in the Gray Ridge zone this morning, so emergency teams can keep doing their job. The hard truth is, that violent tornado may just be the opening chapter of this outbreak. Starting with today, Friday, April 24th. The Storm Prediction Center has a Level 2 slight risk of severe weather covering Memphis, Dallas, Shreveport, Jackson, and Little Rock. There's also a marginal risk stretching from the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley back into central Texas. A line of thunderstorms has been on the move since the early morning hours through Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. That line is pressing south and southeast right now, heading toward Little Rock and Memphis. The tornado threat with this morning's line is low. The main concern is isolated damaging winds. But the afternoon is a different story. Off to the west, we're watching for supercell development right along the Oklahoma-Texas border beginning around 2 to 4 this afternoon. The environment out there supports the potential for very large hail. Baseball-sized hail is explicitly not out of the question, particularly in a corridor from Oklahoma City south towards San Antonio. And the tornado picture for today has been upgraded. What was originally a 2% tornado probability for the lower Mississippi Valley has now been bumped up to a 5% tornado risk with a SIG tornado indicator added. That means EF2 plus tornadoes are on the table. The focus area for the most significant threat is northeast Texas, Texarkana, and into southwestern Arkansas and Louisiana. If you're near Texarkana or northeastern Texas this afternoon, the peak window for that elevated tornado and hail threat runs roughly from 2 in the afternoon through about 8 in the evening. After that, the storm mode will likely shift as discrete supercells consolidate into a larger MCS, bringing more of a widespread damaging wind threat with a lower tornado risk as it tracks toward Lake Charles and far east Texas through the night. Saturday, April 25th. A brand new storm system crossing the Rockies sets up another round across the central and southern plains. The SPC has an enhanced risk, Level 3, primarily for Oklahoma City and Tulsa, extending into Fort Smith. A slight risk runs from central Kansas into Arkansas. Now the tornado threat Saturday is more localized than you might expect. The window for discrete supercells will be narrow before things cluster into storm lines. But within that window, especially near OKC, Tulsa, and the Red River Valley, significant tornado parameter values are going to be elevated. We're looking at STP values around 3 to 4 in the most favorable zone, which is high enough to support a strong tornado. Apple-sized hail out of the initial supercells is a real possibility. And as storms merge into squall lines, a damaging wind threat gets more widespread across Oklahoma and into Arkansas. Saturday afternoon and evening, if you're in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, or Fort Smith, know where your shelter is. Sunday, April 26th. This is where the tornado threat takes a meaningful jump. The SPC has an enhanced risk centered on Kansas City and Wichita, with a slight risk stretching from Omaha south toward Dallas. But Sunday's setup has legitimate tornado outbreak characteristics. The low-pressure system organizing across Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas is going to drive a wind shear profile covering a much larger geographic area than Saturday. Instability loads up with μKP values between 2,000 and 3,000 joules per kilogram as the low-level jet pumps gulf moisture north, with dew points climbing into the mid-60s across southern Kansas and Oklahoma. Effective layer shear near 40 knots supports sustained supercells. Kansas and Nebraska have the best odds for storms that fire cleanly and stay in discrete supercell mode. And those are the storms most likely to produce tornadoes. One key caveat for Sunday: there may be a cap across Texas and Oklahoma that suppresses storm development in those states during the afternoon. But if that cap erodes, and we saw a similar situation play out last Thursday before storms fired unexpectedly in Oklahoma, the environment underneath is more than primed. Texas and Oklahoma need to be watched closely. By Sunday evening, rotating supercells are expected to be ongoing across the Kansas-Nebraska corridor, and any cell that gets going in this environment will have everything it needs to produce tornadoes. The overnight hours into early Monday bring a continuing tornado, hail, and wind threat through northern Missouri and Nebraska. Monday, April 27th. This is the day I want you to lock in on, especially if you're in the Midwest or Mississippi Valley. The SPC has an enhanced risk in place across Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, and back through central Missouri. By lunchtime, storms will already be going in Wisconsin and Iowa. The main severe weather window runs from about 1 in the afternoon through midnight, with storms tracking through areas like Milwaukee, Davenport, and central Missouri, then pushing toward Nashville and central Kentucky overnight. Monday's setup is dominated by a large organized squall line, rather than classic discrete supercells. That means the wind threat Monday is going to be significant and wide-ranging. A derecho-style event with gusts of 60 to 80-plus miles per hour embedded in the bow segments is on the table. But QLCS tornadoes embedded within the line are a very real threat too, and those can develop quickly with limited warning. Monday is not a day to be without a weather alert system and a plan in the upper Midwest or Mississippi Valley. Put this whole sequence in perspective. 4 days from Texas through Nebraska and into the Midwest, one storm system after another. The Enid tornado was a violent reminder of what this atmosphere is capable of right now. The pattern is primed, a powerful western trough pushing repeated systems into aggressive Gulf moisture return, with dew points running well above average for late April. Beyond Monday, the Deep South is being watched for another significant round later next week, and the early May pattern looks to stay active across the plains and Midwest. Bottom line on where to focus. Today, it's northeast Texas, Texarkana, and southwestern Arkansas, especially between 2 and 8 this afternoon. Saturday, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and the surrounding area. Sunday, Kansas and Nebraska in the highest risk zone, with Texas and Oklahoma needing a close watch. And Monday is the day that threatens the widest area with the most significant wind and tornado potential from the Midwest into the Mississippi Valley. Know where your shelter is before the storm gets there, not while it's on top of you. Have multiple ways to get warnings. Stay weather aware all the way through Tuesday at minimum. If this is your first time here, subscribe below and hit the bell so you get updates as the forecast evolves, because with a stretch this active, it will. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.